So hi everyone, and thanks for joining. Today we're going to unlock the true power of Prisma SASE. My name is Erik de Vogelaar. I'm a security engineer at Exclusive Networks. I will be your host for today's session. Together with my two colleagues, Quinten Thijs and Kennen van Veldhoven, we cover the Palo Alto Networks product portfolio here in Belgium and Luxembourg. If you're new to Palo Alto Networks, you should know that there are three platforms. The network security platform, also known as Strata, that's the one we will be talking about today. But we also have a code to cloud platform, also known as Prisma Cloud, and the Cortex platform that helps your security operations centers with the correct tooling. So those are technologies such as XDR, SOAR, and SIEM. Now, today we will be talking about Prisma SASE, the SASE technology of Palo Alto Networks, and we'll be focusing on Prisma Access Browser. My goal is to walk you through like a brief introduction about the technology, how it all works, what are the use cases we can address, and then I will walk you through a live demo. Now, important, the infrastructure and the demo that I will be showing today, you can also gain access to it. It's kind of an on-demand lab access that we can provide to you. If you have any question, feel free to use the Q&A tab. I'm just going to check that I have access to the Q&A buttons. So yeah, make sure to ask any question within the chat. I will do my best to answer the questions as we go. And if we don't have enough time, I will make sure to send the answers through email. So that being said, let's kick off and start with a brief overview about SASE. First of all, why do we need SASE? And I'm sure we all know this. We have the same global mission. We want to make sure we can secure access to applications, and we want to make secure access to the assets. It's very straightforward. The assets is, for instance, my corporate laptop that I have in front of me, but it can be any connected device on the network, right? Think about IoT, mobile devices, connected team meetings and rooms, all that kind of stuff. But we also have a lot of services and workloads that are hosted either on-premise in data centers or in the cloud. And we want to make sure that we can secure the access to those resources and the access to the data. So we want to make sure we can protect data in motion and data at rest, data sitting on those assets and services. Now, there are quite a lot of challenges here. First of all, the threat landscape is continuously evolving, right? Attackers are fast, sophisticated, and working at cloud scale as well. Then we have the challenges of the adoption of the cloud. So we move resources to the cloud, exposing the attack surface, but also making it quite challenging to secure the access to those cloud resources, right? And again, think about those massive growing devices that are connected to our corporate networks. So what is the solution, or how organizations try to address those pain points and challenges, is by building a multi-layer of defense approach, right? So you will not rely on only one technology. You will put multiple security, network, and monitoring tools in place to protect those crown jewels. Now, especially for larger organizations, this can be very challenging, and you might end up with a lot of single point solutions. And as you know, it's challenging to make sure that all those solutions work together, that you can share data and manage those solutions from a single point of glass, right? So a single console where you can manage all of that. So it's really challenging. And as you know, at Palo Alto Networks, they focus on a platform approach, platformization. We have three platforms: the Cortex platform that help you secure devices and workloads, Prisma Cloud that will help you to secure everything from code, building the code, and running the application. And then the topic of today, network security platform, where we can leverage the next-gen firewalls, but also cloud-delivered security services and Prisma Access combined with Prisma SD-WAN to secure any user, any device trying to access an application. That application can be in the cloud. It can be a private application. We just want to make sure that we can control access to these applications and scan the data. We'll come to that later on. When it comes to scanning data, we want to make sure that we can protect against any threat, right? Any malware, any virus, spyware, etc., but also any kind of sensitive data that might leave the organization. So besides the use cases and kind of challenges we just discussed, we also have like the digital transformation. The way how we work changed, right? I'm sitting now at the office, but most of the time, we work from other places. And we need to make sure that if you're outside the office, so off-premise, that we can also guarantee best user experience, so good network quality, but also, of course, the security inspection. Also, think about, again, that massive growth of devices, IoT devices, your own smartphones, tablets, etc., that connect to the network and that represent a risk, and the adoption of the cloud, where mainly SaaS application becomes a threat, because it's really easy to access them from unmanaged devices. And as you all know, those SaaS applications most of the time contain sensitive information or information about the organization. So we have a problem. The problem is when the user or the employee is sitting off-premise, so no longer behind the next-gen firewall or the on-premise proxy, well, we lose visibility. And if we don't have visibility, well, we do not have any control, because we cannot perform deep packet inspection and we cannot inspect the data, right? So this means the user is now unprotected. So the solution for that is to make sure that it doesn't matter where the user is, right? We want to make sure we can send that traffic to a central place. That central place will be, in our example of SASE, the cloud, so distributed and available across the world. And we want to make sure that we can apply security inspection at cloud scale. We're going to do that in a continuous way. So we're going to continuously check who is the user, what is the device he's accessing, using, and what is the application he's accessing, as well as performing deep packet inspection. So that's where the threat protection and the data loss prevention kicks in. And the final goal is to make sure that that user has the best user experience to access any kind of application, whether it's a private application, a cloud-based application, or a traditional website, right? Now, there are different use cases that we'll talk about today. Main use cases for SASE is definitely VPN replacement and other legacy technologies such as traditional firewalls. You might have a proxy that you want to replace with secure web gateway. You might use an access broker or another CASB vendor. You will be able to replace that with Prisma SASE, as we'll discuss later on. Now, the main use case is definitely where users are sitting outside of the organization, right? Where we have mobile users that need secure access to those applications, but also external employees such as consultants, coworkers, third parties, and partners that need to access our private resources. And then last but not the least, you might also have locations that need to be interconnected, such as a branch that talks to a headquarters or data center, or multiple branches that need to be interconnected. So in a nutshell, SASE will basically help us reduce the complexity and the management overhead by providing a single pane of glass, a single solution to make sure we can provide both network and security solution as a service. So let's talk a bit more about what is SASE in more details. So SASE is two main components. We have a security layer, also known as SSE, Secure Service Edge. Then we also have a network layer, where the main component is SD-WAN, to make sure we can optimize the network connectivity. And then we have a third layer that actually kicks in, or that has been introduced like a year ago. It is known as digital experience monitoring. And it's meant to make sure that we can monitor the user experience within our SASE environment. So what is SASE? SASE is about converging and combining that security layer and the network layer into one nice platform delivered from the cloud as a service, where the goal is to make sure that any user from any device around the world can securely access the resources, whether public or private resources. So the network challenges we want to address is typically we want to reduce latency, jitter, and packet loss. We want to improve the cost or reduce the cost and improving the connection, right, between multiple branches and between a user and a data center, for instance. And, typically we relied on manual VPN connection between different locations. Well, we will be able to leverage SD-WAN to do that automatically for us. Also, an important aspect is, of course, the security. We want to make sure we can decrypt traffic, perform deep packet inspection, and address, all kind of threats. So we want to protect URL. We want to use URL filtering. Oh, that was a thumb up. We want to use URL filtering, advanced DNS security, wildfire for sandboxing technologies to make sure we can stay ahead from modern threats. And then an important aspect is, of course, data security, data in motion. We want to make sure that there is no sensitive data leaving the organization. And then the third layer that we discussed is the monitoring part, where we want to have full end-to-end visibility of the user in our SASE environment. So remember, SASE, it's all about conversion, network, and security in one platform. And the third layer is the digital experience monitoring. We provide that as a single service from the cloud. And usually people ask me, can I build my own SASE? Right? And the answer is yes. You can definitely build your own SASE. However, it's very challenging because, as you know, you might have already a ZTNA solution or an SD-WAN solution in place, but each of those solutions will have its own management plane, its own way of configuring policies, and of course, data will be stored in its own silos, right? So the challenge here is to make sure that you will be able to integrate all of those different technologies with each other. And this will be very complex, especially if you're using multiple vendors. So just to illustrate you, yes, it's possible to build your own SASE. However, you might end up with a situation like this, where the expectations are not what you try to build. So I will do my best to explain you a little bit more about Prisma Access, Prisma SD-WAN, and Prisma ADEM. So Prisma Access is basically the security service edge service of Palo Alto Networks. Prisma SD-WAN is referring to the SD-WAN capabilities of Palo Alto Networks. And then we have ADEM, Autonomous Digital Experience Management, which is an advanced digital experience monitoring solution. If we combine both SD-WAN and Prisma Access with ADEM, we basically have Prisma SASE, right? So again, remember, it's all about converging all those technologies into one framework, one platform as a cloud service. So how does it work, and how does user connect to or through Prisma SASE to access applications? Well, at the bottom of the slide, we have like the branch offices, so the locations. We have managed and unmanaged devices that we will touch on later on. And they will need to connect through Prisma SASE to access either public applications, such as SaaS applications, IaaS, PaaS, or private applications sitting at the headquarters, data center, or even in the cloud. Now we're going to leverage the different components that we discussed. So we're going to use Zero Trust Network Access to replace VPNs and to provide secure access to private apps and resources. We're going to use Next-Gen CASB to provide secure access to those SaaS and cloud applications. Secure Web Gateway to replace existing proxies and provide secure access to the internet. SD-WAN to optimize the network connectivity, especially branch to branch and branch to headquarters. And then we have a lot of other features under the hood, such as the security services, user behavior analytics, app acceleration, quality of services, and so on. Now, important to highlight is that the infrastructure is made available around the world, right? So Palo Alto is working with Google and Amazon Web Services to make sure that the SASE services are available around the globe, right? So you will always connect to the closest point of presence, as we call it. So basically a data center where the Prisma SASE services are being hosted. Important for compliance reason, yes, you can restrict access to, for instance, only a specific zone, let's say Europe or any other zone, right? As you can see on this slide. Now let's dive a bit more in how SASE works. So let's go back to the two layers. The first layer, the network layer, SD-WAN. That's where we want to use the underlay. So either the physical Ethernet connection we have, MPLS line, 4G or 5G. And then we're going to build an overlay. The overlay is basically a secure tunnel that we're going to establish between our branch location and our data center, or between multiple branches. Now, Palo Alto made an acquisition. It's CloudGenix a couple of years ago. And CloudGenix is or was a vendor that was specialized in SD-WAN and a leader in the MQ quadrant. And Palo Alto created its own technology, Prisma SD-WAN, which is also known as an intelligent layer 7 SD-WAN solution. So we want to make sure that we can also differentiate multiple applications to do the steering. So if we have two lines, we are able to distinguish, for instance, that all Microsoft Teams traffic should go over line A and that all email traffic should go over line B. Also important is that you can put in place backup mechanisms to make sure that the business remains available and the applications remains available. Now, for the security part, again, we talked about Prisma Access, so the security service edge features, where on the right side, we can see a client, a managed device using Global Protect to connect to Prisma Access. If he wants to go through the internet, well, usually he will go through the secure web gateway component, so inspecting all traffic destined to websites, HTTP, HTTPS traffic. Now, if you're going to cloud applications such as SaaS application, IaaS and PaaS, you're mainly going to use CASB or SaaS inline security. If you go to private application, that's where the ZTNA kicks in, where you can leverage a service connection or ZTNA connector to gain access to a private application. Now, any other traffic will be handled by the firewall as a service. So everything which is not a private app, which is not HTTP or HTTPS, will be handled by firewall as a service. And then on top of that, again, keep in mind, we have those cloud delivered security services that will help us to provide content inspection. So to recap, we have a user, it doesn't matter where he is, we just want to make sure we can send his traffic to the cloud. We're going to do continuous trust verification. It means we're going to check the user device, the user identity, and what application the user is going to. And then finally, we're going to apply the security inspection, again, in a continuous way. So we want to make sure we can apply URL filtering, advanced threat protection, DNS security, and so on. Now, there are different ways to send traffic to Prisma Access. We can use Global Protect, which is an agent that we can leverage to build a VPN or SSL tunnel to Prisma Access. We can also use PAC files, proxy auto-configuration files, IPsec GRE, or SD-WAN. But today we're going to talk about Prisma Access Browser, which is another method that we can use to send all web and so all HTTP and HTTPS traffic to Prisma Access for inspection. Now, another thing I want to highlight is that, yes, you can use inline methods to send traffic and inspect traffic, but there's also something known as CASB API, where you're basically going to leverage API connections towards your SaaS, your managed SaaS application to make sure you can monitor any kind of activity. So if you have a user on his own device that is sitting outside the office, so off-premise, and he connects to your managed application, well, we all know, for instance, OneDrive, you can connect to it from your smartphone, and you can do a lot of actions, such as downloading a file, sharing a file, editing a file, and so on. So here we have no visibility because no traffic is going directly to Prisma Access. However, by using this API integration, we will be able to gain visibility about what the user is doing. It's after the fact, so not in real time, but after the fact. And we will eventually also be able to take some certain actions. So imagine again, the user was trying to share a file publicly. Well, we will be able to unshare that file if we want. So change the file exposure. Now, this is how a kind of SASE environment would look like. So on the right side, we discussed the mobile users that are sitting at home or somewhere at the airport, for instance. They connect using Global Protect or another method to Prisma Access. So if they want to go to a cloud application, all traffic will be inspected in the cloud before granting access to that cloud app. If we have branches, such as here the branch of New York, that might need to connect to the data center, well, we can leverage the Prisma SD-WAN fabric. And another branch such as Chicago that needs access to the internet, well, can also go through Prisma Access for security inspection. Important is that both traffic in both directions is being inspected, right? So traffic to the application and return traffic back to the location or the end user device. Now, if you think that that was a complex topology or overview, well, let's think about all the hidden components such as site-to-site VPNs, your MPLS lines, SD-WAN, any kind of CASB or proxy within your environment. Well, it can become very messy and complex. So that's where the ADEM, the digital experience monitoring, kicks in to provide you full end-to-end visibility. And as we can see on this slide, this will be very valuable information for your IT help desk to troubleshoot and improve the user experience within your entire SASE environment, right? So with that, I would like to link everything what we discussed to certain use cases. So remember, I told you VPN replacement is definitely one of the use cases for SASE, where we can leverage zero trust network access to provide secure access to private applications. Again, it doesn't matter if the private app is sitting on-premise, on-prem infrastructure, or somewhere in the cloud. If you have an existing proxy, or if you're using a secure web gateway vendor, you can now leverage Cloud Secure Web Gateway to secure access to web applications. For cloud applications, so SaaS, IaaS, and PaaS, we will be leveraging CASB or next-gen CASB, where we combine both web and SaaS application into one solution. We told about mobile users that can connect to Prisma Access using Global Protect, and in a moment we will talk about Prisma Access Browser that can be used for web applications and SaaS applications. And if we have multiple offices that needs to be interconnected, or an office that's where we want to optimize the network, well, we can leverage Prisma SD-WAN to steer traffic in the most efficient way to its destination. Right. So in a nutshell, the 5 use cases we discussed mapped to the technologies of Palo Alto Networks. So as a summary, SASE is all about, we have users all over the world. It doesn't matter if it's on-premise or off-premise, We want to make sure we can send traffic to Prisma Access for real-time inspection and trust verification. And the goal is to provide access either to internet, SaaS and IaaS applications, or private applications across the world. Now, if you have no questions about that, let's talk about Prisma Access Browser and then move on to the demo. So Prisma Access Browser, remember this slide where I told about managed and unmanaged devices? Well, a managed device in this case is able to send traffic to Prisma Access using Global Protect, right? The VPN client that we install on the device. Now, especially for contractors and third parties, they most of the time do not allow, or they don't want to install such VPN clients. Well, here we could basically just tell them, hey, you can install Prisma Access Browser, a lightweight browser that will allow you a secure access to our resources. Also, that browser can be used on managed devices in combination with Global Protect, right? So what's the difference between Global Protect and Prisma Access Browser, and what are the different use cases? Well, first of all, Prisma Access Browser, it's all in the name. It's a browser. It's a secure enterprise browser, which means we have full control on what is happening inside the browser. We can control things such as passwords, cookies, bookmarks, and history will now be protected because we control, again, all the content within the browser. And as you know, the most easiest way to protect that data is by encrypting data. So we'll make sure that any data that is sitting on the browser is protected, isolated from other resources, and eventually encrypted to make sure that even if someone gains access to that data, well, it's completely encrypted. We're going to do both things, so protecting the data at rest within the browser, but also data at runtime. So if you think about keyloggers, screen scrapers, malicious manipulation of certificates, all that kind of stuff we'll be able to detect and block that. And another example would be those extensions that you download and that behind the scenes are just gathering all your data and sending that somewhere else. Okay, so again, we have full control of the browser, which means that we can easily secure the content without having to decrypt traffic, right? That's an important aspect. Also, most of the organizations provide for contractors and third parties, they provide access through VDIs. Well, here we can basically remove the access through VDI because we can just give them access through Prisma Access Browser. And Prisma Access Browser will be used to either secure access to public applications and also to private applications, right? So it's a very good use case for contractors, third parties, and bring your own devices, but also keep in mind that you can use it on your managed devices. And we also recommend you to use it on your managed devices because, as we all know, 90% of our day we are using the web browser, right? So we want to make sure we can protect everything what's going on there. So Prisma Access Browser is based on the Chromium technology. It's very lightweight. It's the look and feel is exactly the same as using Chrome, Safari, or Internet Explorer. No admin rights are required, no reboot when installing the client, and it's very simple. Using that browser, you will be able to send all your traffic to Prisma Access for real-time inspection and continuous trust verification, and you can provide access to both public applications as well as private applications over HTTP, HTTPS. It's also available on multiple platforms, so your corporate laptops, Mac, Windows, and of course the mobile platforms such as Android, Chromebooks, and so on. Now, today we're going to look at both. So we're going to use Prisma Access Browser to secure access to public applications such as Internet and SaaS applications. We can leverage advanced URL filtering, advanced wildfire, and advanced DLP to make sure that there are no threats within the traffic to and from those applications, but that there is also no sensitive data leaking. And we're going to apply the same logic, but this time to private applications. Again, those private apps can be hosted on-premise or somewhere in the cloud. A very fancy use case that I will try to demonstrate to you in the demo in a few minutes is where you can secure files that are being downloaded from your corporate instances. So in this example, we download a file and the file will be encrypted on the endpoint. You will be only able to open this file using Prisma Access Browser. If you try to upload that same file to a corporate instance, well, depending on your security policies, that will be allowed. Okay, so in this case, the file will be uploaded and unencrypted data will be stored in your corporate application. Now, let's imagine you want to upload that to one of your personal applications. That's where we can block this activity. We can block the upload of that sensitive data. Also, we have some what we call endpoint DLP, where we can make sure that we control what devices, such as USB devices, are used to copy data. Right. So again, the data that we download from a corporate device, corporate application, sorry, well, you might allow or block that to be copied on a USB drive. Okay. I know it was a lot of information, so I will do my best to kind of show you everything what we discussed through the demo. So first things first, I will already authenticate myself to the Strata Cloud Manager. This is the platform that I will be using to manage the entire SASE platform, including the Prisma Access Browser configuration. Bear with me a second while I'm allowing the multi-factor authentication. And in the meanwhile, I will jump into the infrastructure that I will be using for this demo. So we built an entire demo and lab environment that we can provide you access to. And the goal of this environment is to basically help you conduct and play around, conduct demos, and also play around with Prisma Access Browser. So here I'm launching Prisma Access Browser within that environment. So you can see it's a Windows operating system where Prisma Access Browser is installed. And the first thing I will need to do is log in. So this is a mandatory configuration. You have to integrate with an identity provider to provide secure access to the Prisma Access Browser. Also note that you will be able to use step-up authentication, so force a user to re-authenticate over time. Okay, now that I'm connected to Prisma Access Browser, let's take a look at the different features and things we can do. First of all, we have a profile, the same way we have in Google Chrome, right? We can have multiple profiles here in our browser as well. You can, of course, manage the profiles, and here, by clicking on the guard, you can have some more details about the browser version you are using, whether your device is protected using an host firewall, if you have antivirus and EDR solutions, and so on. And you can also have a look at the network statistics, such as the connection towards Prisma Access. Now, important, you might wonder, like, okay, how is Prisma Access Browser connecting to Prisma Access? Well, it's using explicit proxy. Or at least in my case here, I'm using explicit proxy. You could use it in combination with Global Protect. But as you can see on this device, I don't have Global Protect installed, so I'm leveraging explicit proxy, which means all HTTP and HTTPS traffic can be sent to Prisma Access for inspection. So if I would go to Facebook, any kind of GitHub page, or a news website, a sport website, whatever, all that traffic will be sent to Prisma Access for inspection, right? Now, the demo of today, I would like to illustrate how you can use Prisma Access Browser to provide secure access to private applications. So as you can see, I tried to reach out to an application 192.168.144.77. You might recognize this. This is a private IP address. So if I try to ping that IP address from my terminal, you will see that there is no response. If I try to go to Internet Explorer or any other browser, well, you will see there is no connection. The connection times out. However, if I do use Prisma Access Browser, you can see if I click on Proceed Anyway, I can access that private application. So how is that working? Well, basically, my Windows computer that is configured with Prisma Access Browser that leverages that explicit proxy configuration. So basically a pack file that says any web traffic needs to be sent to Prisma Access. And then from Prisma Access, I have a service connection established with my PA460, an on-premise next-gen firewall I have. And that firewall is providing secure access to my on-premise application. And that on-premise application is the 144.77, the private app that I will use for today's demo. Okay, so you can see nice and easy access to a private application leveraging Prisma Access Browser. Now let's take a look at the different features and use cases we have with Prisma Access Browser. First things first, you can control, again, every data within the browser itself, as well as any activity. So I will try to copy this data, and just for the purpose of this demo, I will paste it within the same application. And you can see it's allowed. That's working fine. Now let's imagine I try to paste that same data outside the private application within the browser, for instance. Well, you can see I immediately receive a pop-up that instructs me that pasting data outside the application is not allowed. However, this time the administrator leaves me the choice. I can either cancel my action or click on Proceed Anyhow. If I do that, you can see again the data is being pasted. However, if I try to paste that same data outside the Prisma Access Browser within another application, such as Notepad, we'll see here pasting data from Prisma Access Browser is prohibited. So my data is not being pasted, and I have like a warning message instead. Okay, so a very simple demo to show you that we can control copy, paste, and many other activities, as well as the data that is being transferred from one application to another, from one site to another. Now we can do the same with credit card information. So we can see here we have a sample of credit card information that is being masked. So I cannot see the credit card information. On top here, I can click on unmask if I want and if the administrator allows me. And that way, as we can see now, I have a credit card number here that I can copy. Let's imagine I paste that information here and I type in the last numbers. Well, at the moment I type the last number of that credit card information, again, we have sensitive data that is being detected, right? So this is called typing guard, which means we can also check what information you are typing and not only copy and paste. This time we have the option to click on send permission request. This is pretty nice because we can actually tell the administrators that we want to receive access or we want to perform that activity. So if I would go to my Strata Cloud Manager, where I can configure Prisma Access Browser policies and of course access plenty of different dashboards, we would first see the different actions that I just performed, but also we would see the request I just sent to the administrator to ask him to provide me access or to allow me to do a certain activity. As we can see here, the typing guard was triggered, and as an administrator, I can now reply and say, for instance, yes, I approve this activity for an amount of time, for instance, 7 days. Just gonna put it on 3 days and click submit. Now, if we go back, to the environment, the user will be able to check that information by going on his profile on the top. And you can see here we have a tab called Notifications, where eventually the administrator will allow access to the action the user wanted to perform, right? So you can see your data input request approved, which means that I would now be able to type in that credit card information. Now let's take a look at another example. That's where it becomes very nice. We can also use DLP in real time. So you can see I clicked here on the URL to download a sample DLP file. I'm immediately warned here to tell me that it might contain any kind of threats, but I clicked on proceed, sorry. And when I download the file, you can see again, immediately Prisma Access is kicking in and it detects that sensitive information is within that file. So again, I can click on proceed anyway. Typically users knows what they are doing. So I click on proceed anyway, and you can see that if I try to open the file, there is a kind of weird logo here, the Prisma Access Browser logo. And it basically means that I'm only allowed to open this file with Prisma Access Browser. If you think you are smarter and you can try to open it up with another application, such as Notepad, well, then you will see that the entire file or the content of the file is being encrypted. Again, to emphasize the fact that we can, one, detect sensitive information in a file, two, protect that file using encryption to make sure that file is not the sensitive data is not leaving our organization. And even if you would extract that information on, let's say, another application or your USB device, well, data will be encrypted and not usable. We can have a look at an threat protection example. So I'm just uploading an ACAR file for the purpose of the demo. And you can see here the file is being blocked because malicious content is being detected. So again, just to illustrate the real-time protection capabilities. Now, I know we are going close to the end. I'm just looking at the Q&A chat. If you have any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I will just walk you through the other use cases I had prepared for this demo. So here we have a nice page. It's called Screenshot. So you can see all the data on this page is covered using watermarks. So we can see here the logo as well as the connected user and the date and time. And again, a lot of actions here are being blocked. So if I would try to open the inspector tool, for instance, it's being blocked. If I would try to print the page, it is being blocked. And if I would try to take a screenshot or share my screen, right, you will see that that data is also being blocked, right? So nice and easy, just to show you that, again, we can control whatever activity the user is performing within the browser. If we go to the credit card information, we just discussed about it, right? DLP can help us protect data. So to make sure that if I'm sharing my string as I'm doing now, that sensitive data is not being shared. But if the administrator allows it, you can also at any moment in time unmask that data. However, as we discussed, if you try to copy paste that information outside the browser, it will be blocked. Now, a last example I want to walk you through is step-up authentication. So you can see that if I try to go to a specific page, in this case, it was the extension page. So if I click on the extension page, you can see he is asking me to enter my PIN code. So I will provide my very secret PIN code, and only then I'm allowed to go to that page. So what I want to emphasize here is that we can restrict access on an application level, right? So the entire application, here the web app, or to specific pages. In this example, the extension page. Now, extensions is part of a big threat within the organization because a lot of extensions are using Gen AI or are taking your data and doing whatever stuff with it. So to make sure we can control what extensions are being installed by the end users, we can create policies to allow certain extensions and block certain extensions. In my case here, I will try to add the ChatGPT extension to the Google Chrome Web Store. And you can see I'm not allowed to do that because the administrator blocked this specific item. However, as you saw here, another extension called Palo Alto Networks ADEM was approved and installed by the administrator. Right? So you have granular control on the extensions as well. Okay. So this was in a nutshell to show you how you can use Prisma Access for the real-time inspection capabilities, how you can use Prisma Access Browser to send traffic through Prisma Access, and use a service connection to provide secure access to private applications. And as we just discussed during this demo, there are a variety of actions that we can take control of. And if you want to have a look at, okay, what are the different actions that are allowed by the administrator? Every time you go to an application, so it doesn't matter if you go to a public-facing application or, again, a private application, you will have here on the top a nice breakdown of all features that are allowed or blocked by the admin. So here we can see data masking was enabled for the credit card numbers. We also had a typing restriction for the CECNs. The developer tools were blocked. You might have some restrictions for downloading files. So we were seeing here that we were trying to detect sensitive information that is being uploaded or downloaded. Captures are allowed on this page, right? So I could take a screenshot on this page. Let me show you that. So if I try to take a screenshot here, it is working. However, if I try to take a screenshot on the screenshot page, well, you will see here, capture is blocked. So the camera is blocked, microphone is blocked, the screenshots are blocked, and watermarks are displayed. So again, if I would try to take a screenshot here on this page, it is blocked. Okay. So with that, I'm going to check the Q&A tab. Oh, that's not my goal. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. And otherwise, I think we are reaching the end of this webinar. I hope you enjoyed the live demo. And as a call to action here, of course, if you want to learn more about Prisma SASE, because it was a lot of information for only 14 minutes, if you want to learn more, if you want to deep dive in specific subjects, if you want to have access to this lab environment I just shared with you, please let us know, and then we will do our best to provide you that.